I am Laura Dixon, and you are listening to the Naturally Thin for Life podcast, episode number 66, Creating Consistency. Welcome to the Naturally Thin for Life podcast. I'm going to teach you how to get out of your diet brain so that you too can be naturally thin for life. No counting, restricting, or obsessing. I am going to take the mystery out of it for you so that you can become naturally thin starting today. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. You all hear so often that, quote unquote, you need to be consistent to lose weight and keep it off. But the way you have been approaching consistency isn't working. Have you noticed? Because you are focused on the wrong thing. So today we are going to change that. Before we get started, just a reminder, if you're enjoying the podcast and loving it, to make sure to subscribe so you always get the latest episode. And then if you can take a minute to leave a review and write a review, that would be incredible. When you do that, when you leave a review, it helps the podcast platform suggest the podcast to other women just like you who haven't even found it yet. So I say thank you in advance for taking a minute to do that. And I know the women who also haven't found it yet also say thank you. I want to start by asking you this question and see what your brain comes up with as your initial default response. Here's the question. How do you know if you are being consistent in your weight loss journey? My guess is you look at each day and think about the food you ate, and that is how you judge your consistency. And then maybe you also look at how much you exercised. For years, that's how I judged my consistency. What did I eat yesterday and the day before and the day before? And it would usually look like Monday through Thursday, pretty consistent. Friday through Sunday, not so consistent. But when you focus on the food and how much you're exercising as your measure of consistency, you are actually doing it wrong. And have you noticed it doesn't work? You've been focusing on the food and how much you exercise, but it doesn't actually create you being more consistent. A few things are going on when you look at your quote unquote consistency this way. First, you're putting so much focus on the food and the exercise, and therefore creates you thinking about food and exercise all of the time. Thinking about what you should be eating and what you can't eat and what you really want to eat and what you have to avoid. And then putting so much emphasis on finally, quote unquote, being able to eat maybe when you get hungry, or quote unquote, being able to eat on a cheat day, which, by the way, I hate cheat days. And when you have all of that focus on the food, you're actually fueling the obsession because you're thinking about food more and more. And when you're naturally thin, you don't think about food all of the time. But when you measure your consistency only by the food you eat on a day-to-day basis, you're thinking about it more and more, and it makes it more and more difficult to be, quote unquote, consistent. This is why so many of us diet and then we give up because we just want to stop thinking about it all of the time. So in order to stop thinking about it all of the time, you have to actually stop thinking about it all of the time. So I'm going to give you some examples and I'll walk you through how to start to do that. But it's the same with exercise too. I used to do P90X for a while, and I cannot tell you how much I looked forward to that rest day. I would spend the whole week doing the 6 days in the program they outlined, looking forward to that 7th day when I could just rest. I would be dreading each day's workout and then relishing in that rest day, and then getting started and doing it all over again the next week. It was on my mind far too much. Again, only fueling the obsession. If you haven't listened to the episode on naturally thin exercise, and this is you, make sure you also go back to that episode. Your relationship with exercise, like food, should not be pressure-filled. So another problem with measuring your consistency by only looking at exactly what you ate each and every day and how much you ate and how much you exercise and making a judgment like, oh, that was a good day or that was a bad day, is that you're really siloed in your focus, meaning you look at each day as if it's its own silo, and then you start, quote unquote, fresh the next day. So let's say you ate 5 rounds of pretzels and chocolate last night, and then you tell yourself, well, tomorrow's a new day. We'll start over tomorrow. No, it doesn't work like that. It also doesn't work the opposite, where when you have a quote unquote good day and you didn't overeat, and then the next day you tell yourself, well, we're just going to say screw it today because it's the weekend and we'll start again on Monday. Your body doesn't think of the balance of food in 24-hour time periods. I promise. Only you do, because you trained your brain that way. Your brain might think about the balance of food in 24-hour time periods, but your body definitely doesn't. The consistency you create must be more fluid. It's not just on a day-to-day basis. And your body doesn't even require the exact same type and quantity of food each day. When you're truly listening to your hunger, you may notice some days you're a little hungrier than others. The 1,200 calorie a day thing doesn't work. It isn't how your body is designed either. Maybe some days you naturally eat 1,200 calories a day for that day, and you just weren't that hungry that day. And then the next day, maybe you eat 2,500 calories. I actually don't even really know how much that is anymore because it's been like 6 years since I measured my calories, but you get the point. Our body isn't designed for this siloed 24-hour time period basis where we have to eat quote unquote perfectly every day and only 1,200 calories in every day, as if our body is meant to be like the exact same machine every day. It's sort of a machine, but it's not like a robotic machine that we try to make it. So don't look at the consistency on a day-to-day basis. You want to stretch it out a little bit because your body doesn't even know that's how you're measuring it. And when you put so much pressure on one 24-hour time period to eat quote-unquote perfectly, it doesn't last. Being naturally thin is a way of being for life, not a neurotic 24-hour under the magnifying glass performance period. And so it's really important when you're looking at your quote unquote consistency to not be in that siloed day-to-day basis. But here's the really, really important piece for you to take away from this. What creates consistency isn't what you're eating. You're focusing on the wrong thing. What creates consistency is what you're thinking and feeling every day. Because remember, the action you take, your behavior, so eating or not eating, and your decisions around food is always fueled first by a thought, a sentence in your brain, which then creates an emotion in your body. And if you feel desire, which is an emotion, for food all day, because you're thinking about food all day, and part of the reason you're thinking about food all day is because that's how you're measuring your consistency, you're going to want to be eating all day. So then, when you measure your consistency solely on what you ate without looking at what you were thinking and feeling, you weren't actually changing. And if you have an over desire for food, meaning your desire for food doesn't match your ideal body weight, and therefore you're battling that over desire, then really when you're focusing on only your behavior, on only what you eat and what you don't eat, without looking at the thoughts and feelings that drove the behavior, the eating in the first place, all you're measuring is your willpower. And your ability to use willpower, not the consistency in the way you think every day that will create a permanent change. Think about this. Think about a kid who wants to play with a toy that you have wrapped up on the counter. It's wrapped up in a pretty bow and it's a present for that kid. But they're not going to get it for a week because their birthday isn't in a week. But just imagine it sitting there right on the counter. They see it all of the time. And let's say they're home all day. Right? So it's on the counter. They see it like all throughout the day. They talk about it all day. They're like, I wonder what it could be. I can't wait to see what's inside. Can we open it yet? So it's on the kid's mind the entire day. But they don't open it. So if you're measuring that child's quote unquote consistency because they didn't open it, all you're measuring is their willpower. Because they had to fight that urge to open the present the entire day. And you also know it isn't going to last forever because willpower always fades. It's the same when you are focused only on what you are eating and what you aren't eating without looking at your brain that has you thinking about food in the first place. How to create consistency with ease is to see what you are thinking on a daily basis and to change what you are thinking on a daily basis to create more of the consistency when you then go to look at the food. I want you to imagine two women. One woman's brain sounds like this all day. She wakes up and her brain says, okay, I need to be quote unquote good today. I cannot have the lunch they're going to bring into work today. And I know there will be donuts because there always are on Fridays. I need to power through this. I cannot eat too much because I'm going out to dinner tonight with my husband and I don't want to be stuffed before dinner. Then around 9 a.m., she probably has a lot of thoughts between when she wakes up and 9 a.m. And some of them are probably related to food, but we're going to skip to about 9 a.m. where she's at work and she's feeling a little stressed and her brain says, I give up. I just have to eat something. I'm so annoyed and I'm so frustrated and I can't take Jane. She's ridiculous. I mean, she isn't in again. No, wait. I'm not going to eat anything, remember? I need to be good all day today. Well, I mean, I brought a yogurt, so maybe I could have that. That will help. Yeah, let's do that. I need a break anyways. So she eats the yogurt, and a few hours later, is it lunchtime yet? I really want a break. I need to eat something. Oh my God, I'm starting to get hungry. I hate feeling hungry. This is terrible. I just want the weight to be gone. I don't even want to eat the lunch I brought, but maybe they'll bring something in healthy today for lunch. Oh crap, it's pizza. Oh, I love this pizza, especially from this restaurant. I mean, I just can't imagine not eating it. I know I'm going to dinner tonight with my husband, but I'm just going to have a little bit of the pizza. No, wait, I need to be good. Well, I'll just wait until they're all done eating, and I don't really want them to see me eating it anyways. Plus, I'm only going to have one slice. She goes, she gets her slice of pizza, she eats it. She's like, oh, that pizza was so good. I need to have some more. I don't get it that often, and it's Friday. It's fine. I'll be good tomorrow. I'll get a big workout in, and it doesn't really matter. Anyways, I'll just start over tomorrow. So she eats more pizza, and then she feels terrible in her body. And she's thinking, oh my God, why did I eat that? I feel terrible. I feel really bloated. I feel really uncomfortable. I feel really heavy. I wish I wouldn't have done that. Ugh, I'm so mad at myself. I knew I wasn't going to feel good when I ate that third and fourth piece of pizza, and I did it anyways. I have so much work to do, and now I have zero motivation because I feel like crap. I hate this feeling. I hate myself for eating that. Why is this so hard? I'm going to go get some M&Ms before I work more. Maybe that will help me focus. So she feels terrible all afternoon, judges herself for eating the pizza, so much so that she eats M&Ms and feels even worse. And then she's going out to dinner with her husband, thinking, okay, I feel terrible, so whatever. It doesn't matter anyways. I'm just going to eat the bread. I love the bread. I am already really uncomfortable, so what's a little more? It's just today anyways. I'll start again tomorrow. I'm looking at the menu. I really want the steak and french fries and the lobster bisque. That sounds really good. Well, I'm not even hungry, but I guess I'll eat it anyways. It tastes pretty good, I guess, and we don't come to this restaurant very often. What did my husband just say? I don't even know. I'm kind of struggling to pay attention. I feel so tired and I feel so bloated and I didn't get as much done at work because I was feeling so terrible. Oh my God, did you see that dessert tray? I can't even imagine putting any more food into my body right now, but I'm just going to order a dessert to go and I'll have it tomorrow. Well, I mean, they just brought the dessert to the table in a to-go box. I'm just going to have a little bite. I still have my fork. Well, maybe a few more bites. That was really good. And then she gets home and she's thinking, I can't believe I ate all that food. I feel sick. I need to go to bed. Her husband is like, hey, you want to have sex? And she's thinking, you've got to be kidding me. I feel like shit. It's a no. And then she feels frustrated and she's thinking, well, screw it. He's annoying and I'm just going to eat the rest of the cake I ordered for dessert. And then she gets ready for bed and she's laying in bed thinking, I'm so uncomfortable. I'm not even going to sleep well now. And I need to work out for like 2 hours tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And you know what? Tomorrow, I'm just like not eating again. I have to eat less. I need to be more consistent. Here's the wild thing. When she reflects back on her day, she thinks, ugh, okay, I ate yogurt, pizza, and then M&Ms. And then I went out to dinner and I had bread and heavy soup and steak with french fries and cake. What's wrong with me? Why can't I eat consistently? Hello? Did you see what was happening in your brain the entire day? You didn't have a chance to eat in a way that felt good in your body when you have all those thoughts all day, unless you have like a superhuman amount of willpower. Now, some days she might have battled this conversation in her brain with willpower. So then she thinks, well, I did really good today. I ate quote unquote consistent with how maybe I imagine I want to eat. And then the next day, maybe she does well too. But then she has a day like I just described. And then she beats herself up as if, well, I'm able to be consistent some days, but not others. Of course, you're not going to be consistent all of the time. Look at your brain. So I am not saying don't look at what you eat and completely ignore it, but first look at your thoughts. When you imagine that woman and maybe being that woman, of course you're going to overeat a lot of the time. And you're not going to be consistent because you're battling this crazy conversation happening in your brain. Because I want to create the contrast for you, the difference of what it sounds like in a naturally thin brain. On the daily, she just thinks about herself as I'm a person who eats only when I'm hungry and I love feeling comfortable in my body. Those are a couple of her predominant thoughts. Then maybe around 7 a.m., she's like, I don't feel so hungry. I'm going to have my tea or coffee and drink some water. And I don't usually eat around midday anyways. And that's it. That's all she thinks about in regards to food and hunger until literally 12 o'clock. And then let's say 12 o'clock rolls around, right? And it's not the time, but she's like, I'm pretty hungry. I'm going to eat now. And I want to feel comfortable when I'm done eating. So I'm going to eat something light. She eats and that's it. Done. She doesn't think about food anymore. Around 6 p.m., she's thinking, I'm feeling hungry again. Let's all sit down and eat dinner. And then she's like, I'm going to eat a few squares of chocolate after the kids go to bed, and I have some things I want to do, so I don't want to overeat. And remember, the consistent thought that she just has about herself is, I'm a person who only eats when I'm hungry, and I love feeling comfortable in my body. She feels satisfied in her body when she's eating dinner, and she thinks, oh, I'm done. Let's clean up and play before the kids' bedtime. Then after the kids go to bed, she's thinking, I'm going to have my few squares of dark chocolate. Oh, they're so good. That's it. That's the amount of time she spends thinking about food. It's way less in quantity, the time she thinks about food, and the quality of her thinking is far greater when it comes to her relationship with food. So no wonder the naturally thin woman, then, when you look at quote unquote what she eats, is way more consistent with being naturally thin. Because look at what was happening in her brain that day. And what is so fascinating is that when you have a naturally thin mind, you don't even focus so much on the what of food. You focus more on how you feel in your body and how you want to feel comfortable. And that hunger is never a problem, and so much less on the food. Because when you think the way the naturally thin woman thinks, you don't need willpower. That's how it becomes easy, because you weren't battling your brain all day like the first woman. And then you're not perplexed at why some days you eat in a certain way and then other days you eat like the way I described her eating. Because it's not this battle with willpower all of the time that's creating whether or not you're consistent. When you're just consistent in how you think every day, and it doesn't mean you think quote unquote perfectly every day, but you just think more and more consistently like the naturally thin woman, it becomes so much easier to eat quote unquote consistently. It is so much easier and simpler to be consistent in how you eat when you've cleaned up your mind first. And then, of course, even when you are naturally thin, you may eat something and feel a little uncomfortable in your body and think, what did I eat that created that? Was it the type of food? Or maybe, nope, I just ate a little too much. I wonder why I ate a little too much. And then, without beating yourself up, she says, well, okay, I get it. I was maybe a little frustrated and the kids are being loud. So I just know that next time to be aware of that. And then she thinks, I'll just eat a little bit less tomorrow to balance it out. I'll make sure I allow myself to get to a really good hunger level, and then I'll eat. She doesn't say screw it and keep eating, lying to herself that tomorrow she can wipe the slate clean. It doesn't work that way. Your body doesn't just reset the next day. And she also doesn't swear off the next day either. She just naturally balances it out. It's a much calmer, more peaceful way of being in your own body, and for sure, a calmer, more peaceful way of being with your own brain. So if you want to eat more consistently in a way that your body enjoys, you have to first look at what is happening in your brain. What are you thinking consistently? After you listen to this, I challenge you, take out your phone or a notepad and write down all of the thoughts that you have about hunger and food and how satisfied you feel and how food feels in your body, all of it, for an entire day or even a week. And I'm pretty sure you will surprise yourself and then also simultaneously not be so surprised at why it's hard for you to be consistent when you see what's happening in your brain. Now, if you want help with this, changing how you think about food, hunger, satisfaction levels in your body, and losing that desire to overeat from the source, from your brain, it's exactly what we do inside of the Naturally Thin for Life program. So keep listening to the end to listen to the outro to learn more. But try this for a week. Notice all of those sentences going on in your brain and how many of them make it difficult for you to eat in the way that really feels good in your body, that make it difficult for you to truly listen to what your body is trying to tell you. All of the conflicting sentences that want you to overeat, to distract yourself, to not listen to your hunger. You will astonish yourself, and even the awareness of everything that's happening in your brain will create change and allow you to be more consistent. The only way to create consistency, because the only reason you really want consistency is because you believe it will be easier if you could be more consistent. So the only way to create the ease of consistency is to think consistently and on purpose. All right, my friends. Have an amazing week. I will talk with you all next week. Friend, if you are loving what you are learning here on the podcast, you have to come check out my Naturally Thin for Life program. It is my on-demand lifetime access program where I teach you brand new concepts not taught here on the podcast. And I will walk you through exactly how to implement all of the tools I teach you here so that they become just a part of you. You will learn exactly how to understand your specific brain and your specific body so that you become naturally thin for the rest of your life and you no longer struggle with your weight. Inside of the Naturally Thin for Life program, you can also receive live help so that you consistently make progress and reach your goal. I will teach you how to accelerate your naturally thin journey in a sustainable way so that the change becomes permanent. The best part is that it's risk-free. You either love it or I will give you your money back. If you are ready to finally be naturally thin for life, join us at lauradixoncoaching.com/work with me. That's LAURADIXON coaching.com and click on the Work With Me tab. I cannot wait to see you there.